friends, it's Amanda here, and today we're talking about these 3 ColourPop palettes that are currently Ulta exclusive. We've gotten lots of butterfly things from ColourPop this year, haven't we? These are 3 butterfly themed palettes. They are currently available from Ulta Beauty. They're priced at $18 US a piece. And fear not if you are international or otherwise don't have access to Ulta. Pretty much all of the Ulta exclusive palettes eventually come to the ColourPop website. I don't know if or when that will happen with these butterfly palettes, but I'm pretty sure that eventually we'll be able to see them on the ColourPop website for sale as well. I'm gonna be breaking down each one of these 3 palettes. I will show you swatches as well as some comparisons to other ColourPop palettes. So let's start at the top of my pile here with the A Flutter palette. All of these palettes are a heavy-duty cardboard packaging. They all have a magnetic closure, and none of these palettes have mirrors. I really love the packaging of all 3 of these palettes, and I think the packaging is actually my favorite part, but we will get to that here in a little bit. They all have this sort of raised, textured, glittery detail. I do think it's very pretty. The shade names are printed on the back, and you will see that the eye safety warnings are indicated on the back of the palettes, but they are not inside next to the shade names that are next to the pans. I'm not really sure why this isn't consistently done. Sometimes they're inside, sometimes they're just on the back, sometimes they're just on the box. I don't really get it. I prefer it when the warnings are inside next to the pans as well as on the back, just so that it makes the consumers more aware, but that's not the case for these palettes. All of these palettes have 12 shades, and each one contains 2 pressed glitters. The A Flutter palette is the only one that also has a Super Shock shade. This one called Dwindle is a Super Shock shadow. Neither of the other palettes have any Super Shocks, but they do both have pressed glitters. We'll get to them in a minute. The not intended for eye area warning is placed on all of the pressed glitters and some of the pigments, typically those that contain red pigments, because they can cause staining or, in rare cases, irritation. So just make sure that you're patch testing your pigment shades. And if you do choose to use pressed glitter, which I do not advise, then please do so carefully, use glitter glue, and don't let kids use it. That's all I'm gonna say. The A Flutter palette has 5 shades that carry the not intended for eye area warning. Those are, of course, the 2 pressed glitters, and then these 3 down here in the bottom corner: Dwindle, Swallowtail, and 000, likely because they contain those red pigments. Of the 12 shades in here, 6 are actually new shades. That's the most new shades of any of these 3 palettes. So the new shades are Transcend, Satin Wings, Grove, which is this glitter here, Dwindle, the Super Shock, and then Swallowtail. All of the other shades in the palette have either previously been released as singles or previously released in another palette. We're gonna take a look at the swatches now. First, I just wanna show you finger and brush swatches of this A Flutter palette all on its own. The finger swatches are pictured on top, and then the brush swatches are below. I don't brush swatch the glitters. Those apply best with the finger. The brush doesn't really do much for the pressed glitters. So that's the A Flutter palette on its own. Now I want to show you a couple of comparisons. I know there are a lot of palettes that you probably want to see this compared to. I just did 2 for each palette. The first thing that came to my mind was the Sweet Talk palette. So here you're going to see finger swatches of both palettes side by side. A Flutter is on top, and then the Sweet Talk palette is below. Next is the Orange You Glad palette. Now this is a 9-pan palette, but I do think it was worth comparing. There are some pretty similar shades and color stories in general in here. I thought about also comparing the Baby Got Peach palette or the Bird of Paradise palette, but those were both so similar to the Sweet Talk and Orange You Glad that I already compared that I thought you're pretty much getting the gist of it here. Now let's move on to the Butter Me Up palette. This is the purple palette. Same style of packaging here, just a different design. Very pretty. I really like these purple roses. Again, on the back, we're getting the little not for eye area warning here. Then we'll take a look inside. This is the inside of the Butter Me Up palette. It has the fewest new shades. There's only one new shade in here. That's this one called Fleet. The Butter Me Up palette also has 5 eye safety warnings, so shades that should be used with extreme caution in the eye area. Of course, the 2 pressed glitters are going to carry that eye safety warning. Also, Fleet, the new shade, Silk Street, and Reckless. Those have the eye warning for pigments. So let's take a look at the Butter Me Up swatches. Just a reminder that the finger swatches are pictured on top, and then the brush swatches are directly below, and there aren't any brush swatches for the glitters. I felt like this one was the least impressive pigmentation wise, particularly with the brush swatches, but across the board these shades just felt pretty dry to me, even just swatching them. Now let's take a look at the comparisons. The first comparison I'm gonna do is with the Bye Bye Birdie palette. This is a newer release from ColourPop. It also has some purpley tones, some glitters, some of those warmer shades. However, I do prefer the color story of the Bye Bye Birdie palette. It also has 2 Super Shock shadows, and it only has 3 eye safety warnings, so I think it's just all around a little bit better palette, better quality. That's just my opinion. Next comparison is with the It's My Pleasure palette. This is one of the original 9-pan palettes and definitely my favorite of the 9 pans. I love this one. I love the richness. There's no glitter shades, no pigment warnings, just all around a really, really excellent palette. Lastly, let's talk about this little Gimme Butterflies palette. More glittery butterflies, more pretty flowers, more me liking the packaging more than the actual shadows. Again, just pointing out that the eye safety warnings are indicated on the back of the palette here. Then when we take a look inside, we see lots of pretty pinky shades, lots of different finishes in here. Only 4 of these shades are carrying the eye safety warning, and you know it's a sad day when it's only 1/3 of the palette. So of course the 2 pressed glitters, and then these 2 shades on the very end. No surprise with this one, Glider, this bright red, and then also the shade called Bloomin', which is a matte with glitter. There are 5 shades in here that I didn't recognize as being previously released. First is this shimmery off-white called You're a Catch. This amazing pink shimmer, which I think is my favorite of all 3 of these palettes. This is probably my favorite shade of everything we're talking about today. Then this super bright red called Glider, and then these 2 on the bottom here, the matte pink called Skipper, and then the one we just spoke about, Bloomin'. Let's take a look at the finger and brush swatches of the Gimme Butterflies palette. This shade Winged is just so, so pretty. Just a reminder that the finger swatches are pictured on top, and then the brush swatches are directly below, and there aren't any brush swatches for the glitters. I am comparing the Gimme Butterflies to 2 9-pan palettes. These are the pinkest ColourPop palettes in my collection, which is all of the ColourPop palettes. First, let's look at Gimme Butterflies and Ooh La La. Ooh La La is pictured on the bottom, just a reminder if you couldn't tell, because there's only 9 shades swatched there. And now Strawberry Shake. I was surprised at how similar this palette was. I really thought Ooh La La was going to be the more similar of the 2, but Strawberry Shake is pretty darn close. I guess I shouldn't be that surprised because they do share a shade. The matte pink shade called Woke appears in both Gimme Butterflies and Strawberry Shake. So that's all the info. You've seen all the swatches, all the comparisons. Like I've been saying throughout this video, I like the packaging of these palettes more than I like the actual shades inside. Butter Me Up is the most unique color scheme, and sadly this was formula-wise the worst performer for me. I'm just kind of tired of seeing the same shades over and over again, of all these glitters and eye safety warnings. It's just kind of difficult for me to be really amped for any palette that has so many repeats, so many warnings. I don't know. I like all the palettes that I compared these two better than the actual palettes we're talking about, and that just feels like not a good sign to me. But it's just one person's opinion. If you don't already own a lot of these shades, or you know, you're really into it, you really love butterflies, then maybe these palettes are gonna be awesome for you. And if that's the case, then I genuinely hope that you can get your hands on them and enjoy them. But they're just sort of mediocre for me. I'm not that excited about it. Sorry. Now's the time when I would love to hear what you think about these palettes. Do you agree with me? You're not that excited? Are you on the other side? You really love these? You're really into it? Agree or disagree? I always love to hear what you guys think about things and just get your perspective on products that we're talking about. So please leave a comment down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. I'm trying to get situated here. Harder than it looks. Or previously I don't know what I'm talking about, as usual. Dang it. Okay, get it together. Was that shady? Sorry. You know it's a bad day when I'm not even like finding a way to be excited about a ColourPop palette. You know what I'm saying? I am ColourPop palette ride or die. These just don't do it for me. It's just my opinion. What can I say? Butter me up. I'm testing out, just side note, testing out the ABH Carly Bible palette, and I like it, but I don't love it. This is only my second time wearing it though, so who knows? Maybe I'll love it more. Should I do a ranking all my ABH palettes video? Let me know if you would watch that, because that would be fun. Okay, time to stop. Time to go. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. Bye, love you. Even if we disagree about palettes, bye.